Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verilus here on the side. Use Ledian and Ariados. These are two bug-type Pokemon that don't have too much to go between them, so I might as well just pair them up in one video. Now, when we first look at Ledian, geez, those stats are not the greatest, and they're probably close to being some of the worst. That you have really no offensive capabilities, which is very unfortunate. Your speed is okay, but if you get outsped, you're most likely getting blown up for having no defenses, except for that special defense. And a 110 special defense with a 55 health is probably not going to make you survive too much anyways, so that's what we're dealing with Ledian. Looking at its typing, it's a bug flying type, which really doesn't even help at all, because now you just have a ton of weaknesses. 5 weaknesses, some of them fairly common. Rock being a 4 times weakness, it's not looking too good. You do have an immunity to ground and a resistance to fighting bug and grass, but already, as we saw, a neutral hit is a very high chance of KOing, and a lot of other things do the same. Now when we take a look at Ariados, it's a little bit better. It has 90 attack, so it's somewhat usable on the attack scale. It's not going anywhere anytime soon though because of that 40 base speed, and it might be able to take a hit because it at least has 70 base hit points and around 70 and 60 on the defenses. Look at its typing, it's a bug poison type, so it still has a good amount of weaknesses with flying, rock, fire, and psychic, mostly coming from that bug typing, but the poison does help out, and then we do get a really good amount of resistances, fighting poison, bug, grass, and fairy, so at least you have something against fairies. You heavily resist grass types, and overall, that's pretty much what we're going to be dealing with. So now let's hop into Pokemon Showdown, and Ledian is pretty much just completely unusable, unfortunately, so I tried to come up with like something that you can do, and Ledian is really interesting in a kind of cool way. That Iron Fist, it's one of the few Pokemon that have the Iron Fist ability. Okay, also gets Early Bird and Swarm, but Iron Fist is an interesting one on this, and unfortunately it has a 35 base attack, so you can't do anything with it. Now its special attack is 55, so that isn't much better. I mean, if you go Adamant Nature, you boost the attack, and then naturally you probably want to put some speed into it. I don't know, hit points also works as well, but then you're going with the Focus Sash. So my only idea for Ledian is Baton Pass recipient. We're pressing the easy button. Imagine there's an easy button right there. And now, you just receive Baton Pass. Maybe you're at +4 attack, because that's kind of the only way Ledian could be successful. And then you just try to hit things with Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Mach Punch. And there's obviously better Pokemon for this. That any other Pokemon with Iron Fist has Elemental Punches. There's a lot of faster Pokemon with Elemental Punches. There's Pokemon that don't need Baton Pass. There's Pokemon that if you gave it Baton Pass, it would probably sweep instead of struggle like Ledian. But it's kind of like, it can come in, and if it doesn't have speed boost, it can use agility, it can try to outspeed, it can try to do some damage. But other than that, that's kind of it for a basic idea on Ledian. Now this is a kind of weird set that, it's just kind of set up light screens with a Tailwind, give it to another Pokemon and hope it does well. Kind of idea that if they're opening up with some kind of Stealth Rock or some kind of setup lead Pokemon, you use Encore. That way you're not taking damage, they're locked in their setup so they're forced to switch, and then you can Tailwind. And now you're at least going faster than your opponent. After taking potentially strong damage, you set up Light Screen, Reflect. Now the Pokemon coming in at least has a Light Screen or Reflect to hide behind with a speed boost on the Tailwind. And that's kind of it. And now I know that it does seem fairly counterintuitive that if you invest hit points in defenses with a Focus Sash, kind of doesn't make sense. Well, this is just to kind of cover against worst case scenarios. That if they lead against a super effective Pokemon, you can at least stay in and get a Tailwind, you can get that Light Screen, Reflect, and you're good to go. But by building tanky, if they open a not so strong Pokemon, you might be able to get a Reflect. Outspeed them, survive that hit, go for that light screen, and now you might be in a decent position. Now you have dual screens up with the Tailwind, and you can kind of make that work. Other than that, instead of Focus Sash, you can go Lumberry, you can go Citrus Berry, you can try to go for that survival. It's just like guaranteed survival and the chance of something else happening kind of idea. Now Ariados is a bit more useful and does have some interesting things that when you look at it, you can invest hit points, invest speed, and really I was thinking running Cross Poison on it. At least you're getting Sticky Web off, at least you're getting Toxic Spikes off. You have the chance to Shadow Sneak to break something like a Sash, and then you can Cross Poison and hopefully go for gold. So pretty much the way I see it is you trade opens. They Stealth Rocks you, you Sticky Web them. They go for damage, you throw out a Toxic Spikes, and then before you go down, you get to Shadow Sneak them, and that at least has a chance of breaking a potential Sash that they have. So technically, you're getting the better part of a setup war with Ariados, which is really awesome. Then I just decide to go with the 252 attack, 252 speed, and Cross Poison, because since you're that Poison type Pokemon, you can at least mess up Fairy types pretty hard with this. That if they come in, you're not going to be able to outright one-hit KO them, but you can still slap them around a bit, and that's kind of nice. So Pokemon like Sylveon, Azumarill, Florges, if they're not invested in speed, you're going to outspeed and do over half their health. which can turn to really cool things because they don't have a lot of direct damage, and that's kind of it. Other things that Ariados gets, in doubles, it can kind of be a support kind of Pokemon, has Disable, has Rage Powder, has Electro Web. Baton Pass isn't for doubles, it's just showing like, hey, it can also have Baton Pass, so if you want to put in a Baton Pass chain, it can come in with the chain, set up Sticky Web to make your chain even more effective throughout the Toxic Spikes, and then Baton Pass it off on top of that, which is actually pretty cool. As for something else that you can use in doubles, you can put an offensive move in here. Since it is attack driven, you could go with another Cross Poison, you could go with something like X Scissor, and just kind of run it like that, and that could work out alright in doubles. You know, Electro Web's going to be slowing them. Disable with Rage Powder could be a good combo. Like, you Rage Powder, and then they're trying to hit the other Pokemon, so if you absorb that hit really well by like some kind of hit point investment kind of idea, you know, you could try to invest Tenki and see what you get out of it, then you disable them on that, and it works. Now, it also does show that Ariados would be good on Trick Room team. You have a main hard-hitting Pokemon setting Trick Room, and then you can just kind of support it from there, and that could be pretty interesting because, you know, you do have a low speed and you could be fairly tanky. I didn't come up with like pure kind of EV setups though, but you can try to like split it down the middle, or you could make it, you know, it's going to be more defensively or specially defensive than how it's set up, and that's kind of the plan. So Ariados can do some really neat things if it's like trying to trade setups. It can maybe do a little better. Ledian, it's going to take a lot to make it work, but it can still do something interesting. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and that's how you use Ledian and Ariados in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Have a nice day.